Great to chat there with Diana Ordóñez of the Mexican women's national team, who enjoyed a historic victory over the United States in the CONCACAF W Gold Cup out in Southern California on Monday night. Herc, I want to ask you about the expectations moving forward here for Mexico in this tournament. They get Paraguay in the quarterfinal round. But before we talk expectations, let's talk about the crowd, because that was one of the things that jumped out to me in the interview with Diana Ordóñez, and indeed just heard from watching the game, the fact that, one, the U.S. was the road team, and B, Mexico very clearly enjoying that home field advantage, and it seemed to have an impact on like the actual play on the field.
That it did. I took my family, we were there. There were only 11,000 people. Now, I say only because that's less than half capacity of Dignity Health Sports Park. But the atmosphere was fantastic. It was one of the better atmospheres that I've been to, regardless of the game. And anytime there was a USA chant that was started, it was drowned out quick. And it was evident that the home team was the green team and that Mexico was overtaking. And the players fed into it on both sides. And what I mean on both sides is the U.S. women's national team was clearly rattled. I don't think I've ever seen in person on TV in my lifetime a scenario where the U.S. women's national team was not the home team on U.S. soil. It was so evident, and they played into it beautifully, the Mexican national team. And I think part of that is you and I don't know if this is true, and I don't even think it matters, because if it's about the team, it's not about the individual. You said that not one of these players can make it into U.S. women's national team. Well, there are a lot of products of U.S. soccer here.
Yep.
There were 8 on that roster.
Diana's one of them.
4 of them started. 4 of them started, and all 4 that came off the bench, plus Mayra, who dropped that bomb, all 4 are also U.S. soccer products of that development, whether it's college, whether it's youth national team, whatever the case may be. Mayra Pelayos from West Palm Beach, Florida, and she was on the U17 U.S. national team and ends up dropping a golazo. They played vertical, they played into their strengths, they knew exactly how to hurt them, and this was a massive game for them. People forget, maybe on the men's side, Mexico versus the U.S. is a massive rivalry. It's never been a rivalry on the women's side. It's never been 2-0. It's never been, this is something we can hang our hats on and create something here. Well, now it is. And games like this, crowd reactions like this, scenarios like this, atmospheres like this are going to do it.
Yeah. I wonder about the crowd, Herc. Some of it surely has to do with Mexico, the fact that this game is played in Southern California. Obviously, lots of Mexican Americans there, lots of ties to the actual players on the field. Diana Ordóñez played, I think, on like 3 U.S. youth national teams before she eventually ends up playing for Mexico. So obviously there's some excitement there for Mexico, but I think some of that is also apathy about the U.S. women's national team, right? Coming off a historically bad World Cup. That factors into it as well. As far as expectations for Mexico now, they have what I think is a pretty decent draw in the quarterfinals. You got the 3-6 matchup they're going to go up against Paraguay. Obviously, it's a massive chance if they do go on a deep run to kind of have what would be an epic moment for them, Herc. Do you think it's fair to expect that this Mexican team, which again didn't qualify for either of the last 2 World Cups, could really finish this thing off? And maybe winning it's too much, but at least, I don't know, get to a final?
Seb, they didn't qualify for the last 2 World Cups. They also didn't qualify for the Olympics, and that was in Monterrey on home soil for the Mexican women. They didn't score a single goal. So would it be asking too much for a final appearance? Maybe, but not with this team. And the reason I say that is you look at their new manager. They got a new manager since that fracaso on home soil. It's Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez is a winner. Pedro Lopez is a U19 European champion with Spain. Pedro Lopez is a U20 World Cup winner with Spain. Pedro Lopez won the Pan American Games with this Mexican national team. And on the way in that Pan American gold medal, they beat Paraguay, who are going to face in the quarterfinals 4-1. And by the way, they'll play Brazil if they advance, if both teams advance after that. And Brazil, they're a team with a lot of individual talent, individual flair, but they're deficient in a few areas. And you can see in the game they played against Puerto Rico, where they only came up 1-0. Can they get to a semifinal? Absolutely. Can they beat up Brazil? Listen, the games are in Southern Cal. It's going to be Los Angeles at BMO Field, and then it's going to be in San Diego. That's going to be a major, major home boost for the Mexican national team. The way they are playing right now, they're going on 20-plus games unbeaten. They've yet to receive a goal in this tournament. Can they make it to the final? Absolutely. Can they beat Brazil? Yes. It's just what happens when you get to that final. If you get there, it could be a potential rematch with the U.S. Women's national team or even a Canadian women's national team, which is, for my money, the team to beat today.
Yeah, Herc, the crowds are only going to grow as well because we've seen, like, this. It's no longer a secret. Football Picante, as I mentioned in the interview with Diana, they did 40 minutes on the Mexican women's national team. If this team continues to advance, you bet those attendances are only going to go up. And that home field advantage that this Mexico team used against the United States, they're going to have in the quarters and the semis and the finals as long as they're alive.